What happened?
It was around the year 2021. Let's go back a bit. Let me put it this way. After my mother passed away, I struggled a lot with mental issues because she was the first person I ever relied on. She passed away in the year 2020. She died because of COVID.
May she rest in peace.
Thank you. May she rest in peace. Basically, my mom was really my only companion. Whenever I had a problem or was struggling with something in life, I would talk it over with my mom. Then we entered the year 2021. It hadn't even been a year since my mom passed. Literally, it hadn't even been a year yet. My father got remarried. He got married again. There was still a lot of pressure on us, plus the stress at home and everything, and then we entered the year 2021. It was around mid-May that we went out of the city. It was like the day after of the Eid. It was Eid al-Fitr, and on the day after we went out of town. We had gone to our village, which has a pleasant climate. It was really nice. We had a good time. On the way back, we ended up having a bit of an argument. One bad habit I have is that I dwell a lot on the past. I mean, if something happened in the past, or if something happens, I still hold on to it inside. I just can't get over it. I'm kind of a homebody. Even my late mother used to say, "You're my homegirl." For example, I was the kind of person who knew how to cook and did the housework.
Who was with you?
Me, my ex-wife, and our 2 kids, Amjad and Abolfazl.
4 people.
Yes. We drove back home. We got home, I don't know, but the problems just got worse again. Family arguments. Honestly, I was really under a lot of pressure, and as the argument started, all the old problems would come back up in my mind and it just got worse. It kept getting worse. I still have some issues, like I don't have good balance physically. I mean, if someone bumps into me, I just fall over, like that. I have spine cancer, for example. I can't do certain movements, or if there's any lack of coordination on the stairs, I fall down. There were a lot of people who, because of this illness, they were making fun of me. I'd fall down and then laugh it off awkwardly, like it was a joke. I don't have balance. My lack of balance has affected my anger. I've had surgery, but still, the doctor said that it will stay like that for life and that you have to live with it. It used to really worry me because I was healthy before. Like my mom says, I was really energetic. I used to jump up and down, for example. If a neighbor's door got locked, I'd, sorry to say, jump over the wall like a cat and open the door for them from the other side. I could do anything.
Mashallah.
But then, I started to get really bothered. I know, like, everyone who sees me makes some kind of comment. They make fun of me with every step I take. That night, my worries got even bigger. There were problems with life, the house, the family. I couldn't think straight. At that moment, I was really angry, and there was no one else around who could understand or talk to me. My mom wasn't there anymore. As long as my mom was there, I would go and talk to her about my problems. It was like she would confide in me about her troubles, and I would share my pain with her. Like children, we would sit and cry together. But she wasn't there anymore. She was that mountain of strength. That support was gone. All of this had an impact. For example, some relatives would say that I was the reason my mother passed away. You made her suffer. Your illness is what broke her heart. All of that was weighing on my shoulders. I was annoyed. My father, for example, he got remarried. I didn't want to call someone else mom, so to speak. Now, the lady is very kind and respectable. May God bless her. She's taking care of my father, and she is so accommodating and understanding. May God bless them. But I just couldn't accept it. In a way, I was being selfish. I kept saying, my own mother. All of this just piled up. It was like a dormant volcano that could erupt at any moment. The things happening in my life, for example, arguments with my wife. Arguments happening around me because of my own illness, being bedridden, and my inability, everything was just piling on the pressure. Without even realizing it, my mind got stuck on the thought that enough is enough, Mehdi. Just end your life. I went up the stairs. We had a landing before the last flight of stairs that led to the bathroom. I passed the landing. Before that, I told the kids I was going out to get something for dinner. I honestly don't even know what happened, but I just decided I was going to end it all. I got up from the landing stairs and went up. I reached the second landing. There was a metal door with latches that led to the rooftop. I unlocked the latch and went up to the rooftop. I even listened carefully to make sure the kids wouldn't notice. Downstairs, there was a wooden apartment door. I closed the door. After going up the stairs, I entered the rooftop. I did everything to make sure no one could come to my rescue. I went to the corner. Of the rooftop, there was a kind of indentation there. Underneath it was like the windows below. I had also put up a small roof there for storing essential items and stuff like that. Kind of like a storage room. It was right there. In that corner, we had a can of kerosene that we'd use whenever we went up there, like when my wife would make kebab or something, for lighting the charcoal and all that. I picked up the kerosene can. The kerosene was already prepared beforehand. It was mixed with things like thinner and other flammable materials. I picked up the can. At first, I poured just a little bit. Then honestly, I felt like I had no control over myself. I started pouring the kerosene all over myself. And the amount of kerosene I poured, too. At most, it was maybe a cupful. Maybe it was just the bottom of the can. I poured it on myself. I said, God, I just want to end it now. I struck the match. I was just holding the match in my hand. I was looking, saying, God, that's enough. I want to end it. What kind of life is this, living with illness? I've put up with everything. I've put up with being mocked. I've endured everything. Now even my mom is gone. What more do you want now? I told you to take me. You didn't, so I'm coming myself.
How long before this happened had you been sick? How many years had you been in this situation?
I had it up until 1400.
Around 3 years.
From 2018 until 2021.
And besides the illness, you said you had no balance and people made fun of you.
I was mocked because of this illness. For example, when I was walking, sometimes my foot would suddenly hit the other one and I would fall. Sometimes it would happen right in front of people's shops. And since, as I said, my hands are numb, I can't defend myself at all. I couldn't protect my face. I'm eating the ground. Sometimes my head would get injured. For example, right now my eyebrow is split. The scar is still there. Or even now. For example, I was with my family. I had gone outside. I didn't have any balance. For example, I fell off stairs and broke my leg. Then again, after a while, I still didn't have any balance and fell down. Once again, I hit my head. This keeps happening to me. It's become normal now. I have no balance, so I fall down. That's just how it is for me. Whenever I lost my balance, I would just fall and get hurt. If people saw me, they'd say, "Look, he can't even walk straight." But honestly, they did not know that I have a special illness. It even got to the point where, when I used to go to the mosque, before all these things happened, before my burn surgeries, at the beginning of my illness. When I went to the mosque to pray and talk to God, I would notice people whispering, Neighbors who were at the mosque would say, "Why is he like this?" They were judging. It really hurt my feelings. I would think, at least come up to me and say it to my face. "I'd tell you why. Come on, I'll explain what's wrong with me and why these things are happening." Some would mock the way I walk. They would walk past me. They would mimic my movements. I became resentful. I would say, "God." That's when it started. I stopped going to the mosque for prayers. I even told the mosque's custodian and the mosque's imam, Haji, "When you want to deliver the sermon, tell the people in your sermons." Making fun of others and questioning people is a sin. Sure, you sit in the front row for prayers, but your actions are wrong too. Gossiping and things like that. I get really upset. That became the excuse for me to distance myself from the mosque. I stopped going to the mosque. I would pray at home instead. Gradually, things got worse for me. I noticed even more people were making fun of me. I started praying less and less. My attitude got worse. I became more aggressive. I was fighting with everyone.
Dodd says, "Woe to those who mock and ridicule others." One of the things that is very concerning and troubling, and because of some images being shared on social media, it's becoming even more common, is that when something bad happens to someone, people just laugh. I've witnessed this myself, and it's really worrying. One of the things that psychologically creates and intensifies this situation, leading to cruelty and hard-heartedness, are the short clips that are widely distributed on the internet. People who, when someone falls down in the street, immediately start laughing. They just can't help but laugh. Falling down, to become painful. Getting injured, getting wounded. It's become something to laugh at. There are people at the top of the global media pyramid who are pushing this agenda. They want to spread cruelty, ruthlessness, and callousness so that people become less sensitive when they see the wounded, see war, see the dead and dying, and see people getting hurt. They want to reduce the world's sensitivity to the pain of those who are suffering. Let's not laugh at someone who falls down. If you help someone who has fallen, that's real manliness. The person who falls might have suffered a spinal injury. And because of your mockery, you who ridicule others, after enduring it for years, out of deep distress, they might end up setting themselves on fire. This fire comes from the tip of your mocking tongue and from the devilish laughter of those who never stop to think that maybe the person who fell has a special disability or illness. Right now, my heart feels heavy after hearing this.
I was looking at the flame and telling myself, "I'm going to end it now. I'm done with your laughters." Even before that, I had a new shirt. My shirt was fine, so I took it off and said, "No need to waste it. It's fine if I burn myself." I struck a match, and as soon as I touched the match to my clothes, my body caught fire. As soon as I were engulfed in flames, that's when I realized, I understood what a terrible mistake I had made. The flames were so intense that they started to reach my head and face. I tried to put myself out. I realized that was it. My whole life was over. There was nothing that could be done. My body was engulfed in flames. I was rolling on the ground, but the fire wouldn't go out. Right in front of me, about 1.5 to 2 meters away, there was a water tap. So, from that distance to the water tap, as I was heading toward it to turn it on, my hands caught fire. The flames were hitting my face, and later I heard from the neighbors who came that they were saying, "The rooftop of Mr. Postelin's house is on fire." The flames were so intense that they could be seen over the rooftop wall, which was about 1.20 meters or 1.5 meters high. Even the neighbors farther away, if they lived on higher floors like the third floor, could see the flames. Later, people heard from us that the fire got so big that when I ran toward the water tap, it was like the faucet had gotten hot. There was a whisper in my ear. I was trying to put myself out of fire.
Did you regret it?
Yes, I regretted it. There was a whisper saying, "Well, you wanted to burn yourself. Now we'll burn you."
This. Our mommy, our mommy, our mommy. Where was the whisper coming from?
I don't know what it was. It was in my mind. That whisper said, "Now you wanted to burn yourself. And then you did burn yourself. Now we'll burn you." I was running across the rooftop toward the air conditioner. I was rolling around. I saw it wouldn't go out. No matter what I did, my clothes were completely engulfed in flames. My clothes were stuck to my skin and I couldn't take it out. I mean, as soon as I put my hand out, it would catch fire. My hand, my face. I dragged myself over to that faucet. I couldn't turn it on. With my shoe, I started stomping on the ground right there so someone would notice. No one noticed. I started running. Like in a running position. I circled around from this side. It still didn't turn off. I sat down and started rolling on the ground. It still didn't go out. At that point, I said, "Mehdi, you're done for." The moment I said, "Mehdi, you're done," I mean, I dragged myself. Near the door, I was kicking with my heel.
Where? Why on the ground?
On the ground, so maybe someone would hear the thumping sound. I was shouting, but no sound was coming out. I kept shouting. I mean, I wanted to say help, but I couldn't make any sound. It was just like that. No sound was coming from me, and I saw that no one was noticing. So I was hitting the floor with my heel so it would make a thumping noise. Someone would ask what's going on and come upstairs.
I came from here and went up. Try.
Did you hear sound?
Yeah, I heard the sound. Then I hurried upstairs. I hurried up like this. Then I went upstairs. From right here, I said, "It's nothing." Then I came back downstairs again.
Look, when you went upstairs, why didn't you go all the way to the stairs? Why did you turn around and go back down again? You stood here.
Because I thought it was a cat, so I went downstairs. I see nothing happened. Then he said, "Check again." So I went and looked out the window.
He told you go upstairs.
Yes.
You went upstairs. What happened?
I went upstairs. From here, I saw that something was catching fire over there.
Wasn't the glass broken here?
No, the glass wasn't broken. You could see it from this hole.
From here, you could see it from this hole that there was a fire.
Then first I looked from this side and saw it was catching fire. Then I saw that something more was happening. Then they told me.
Well, why didn't you open this and go in?
Because this was already open, but I saw from right here. From here, I saw my dad had locked this door here with pliers.
It was locked behind.
He'd locked it behind. He wouldn't let us in.
I saw that nothing happened. I got down on my knees and sat on the ground. On both knees. Like this. That was it. I was done. My mom, at that moment, just asked me what I had done to myself. Just as I sat down on my knees, I saw that right in front of me, at a triangular angle, she was looking at me like this. That's when I saw her face right here. She was upset. She was sad. She just asked, "What have you done to yourself?" I was finished at that point. I mean, I said, "I'm done. Mehdi, you're finished."
Your late mother appeared there.
Yes.
She appeared.
She appeared there. She just asked me, "What have you done to yourself?" I saw that it didn't work anymore. I said, Mehdi, you're done. Ask for forgiveness and...
You said that to yourself. Seek forgiveness.
I said it's over now. Mehdi, that's enough. At that moment, when I saw my mother sad, I thought, so I'm really done for.
Because your mother had passed away, you realized you had entered that other world.
I'm coming into the next world, and I made such a big mistake that she's so sad and angry. I dropped to my knees like this and said, God, I was wrong, forgive me. God, I was wrong. That's what I said. I said, God, forgive me, I was wrong. After that, I didn't understand anything anymore. It was like the world was ending. Mehdi was already gone.
Then my mom, when she broke this part, she put her hand in here. Then she took the door off and went inside.
She broke what?
This part and this part. And then at that moment, our brother came from the roof over here and turned the fire off.
Ava.
After that, they took me downstairs and didn't let me come back up.
Your brother came from here.
No, from the other side. It wasn't possible here. From the other side.
He came from the neighbor's house, right?
Then he came, and after that, I never saw my father again. Because they took me to our neighbor's house. Over there.
Ava.
Not there.
Where did your dad fall? Where exactly here?
I saw him here.
He had fallen here.
I'd seen him here.
Aha. He had locked this. He had locked this with pliers.
Yeah, he locked it with pliers. It couldn't be opened. It was really tight.
Like this. Yeah. Locked like this.
Yeah.
When I bent down here, I couldn't feel anything anymore. I mean, for me, time, I don't know, just stopped. I couldn't feel anything, like they came and turned me off. My wife came upstairs. She held me in her arms. The emergency crew arrived. The firefighters came, but I didn't feel anything, just a sense of commotion, and I could see a dim light in the darkness. I mean, it wasn't clear, but wherever the lights were fading, it was bright. Everything was all mixed together. It was like I kept passing out and coming back, over and over again. Our downstairs neighbor had come up, picked me up, and carried me down to our own apartment. By then, the emergency crew had already arrived, and they brought me downstairs wrapped in that same blanket.
Because they had wrapped you up in the blanket?
Yeah, they carried me from the second step down to the ground floor, and I couldn't feel any pain. I don't know how it was that I didn't feel any burning sensation, but I could clearly tell that my body was falling apart. Because when they lifted me up, I felt like a part of my body was. Like it was falling off. It felt like it was separating from me. As they were carrying me down the stairs, I could feel myself going down a path. I was going down. When we got to the doorway, the commotion got even louder. The neighbors had all gathered. Up to this point, I was completely aware. I see, until I went toward.
You mean you could see through your eyes?
Yes, it was me, myself. Up until then, I entered the emergency room.
ER or ambulance?
Ambulance, sorry. I was in the ambulance until the doctors arrived. They closed the door, and suddenly it was dark, and then I heard a sound again. It felt like my brother was coming.
What sound?
Yeah, a sound.
It says brother is coming.
My brother is coming, I mean.
You heard your brother's voice, or someone saying brother is coming?
No, it was like I felt my brother was coming.
So it wasn't really a sound.
It wasn't a sound, no. It was like the feeling of a sound, like someone was whispering in my ear. It said, Javad is coming. It said, Javad is coming. I was above the ambulance. For a moment, I didn't know. I thought they still hadn't put me inside the ambulance. Then I saw my brother coming so fast in the pickin'.
You were above the ambulance,
Yeah,
while your body was in the ambulance.
inside ambulance.
How much got out of the ambulance?
Just enough so I could see that street. So I could see our alley. Then it was like, as I was looking at the alley, right next to it was where our house was, where we came.
Yeah, same alley we took footage.
Yeah, when the car entered the alley, my brother was in such a hurry, it was like I was actually in the car. I mean, it really felt like I was inside the car. The image.
Yeah, you're also above the ambulance. You're also inside your brother's car.
I see the car, and my brother came in upset. When he saw the fire truck and the ambulance, when he saw the ambulance, he totally panicked. While driving, though he was going slow. After that, he came and stopped right at the corner of the alley. He got so flustered, he got out of the car. The car was still in gear. He got out and walked toward the ambulance. The car started moving on its own. My cousin that was sitting next to him just threw himself toward the gear shift, the lever, and the steering wheel to stop the car.
I thought it was just a regular burn or something. As soon as I saw the fire truck, the ambulance, and the police car, I was in shock. I mean, the car was still moving when I got out.
When I saw that moment, I went back again to the ambulance. My brother came and said. He was shouting, saying, "What did you do to yourself? Was it losing Mom enough that you want to?" He kept saying, "What did you do? What have you done to yourself? Why did you do this to yourself?
Wasn't losing Mom enough?
Was it losing Mom enough for you? Do you want to kill me too?" My brother was saying, "Do you want to kill me? Losing Mom wasn't enough. You want to add to that, if something happens to you, what am I supposed to do? I'll kill myself." I just told him.
Your brother?
Yeah.
He said if it happens, I'll kill myself.
Yes, if it happens, I'll kill myself. Then I told him, "Bro, I just want to go be with Mom."
Were you talking with your lips?
Yes,
While you were talking with your lips, could you see with your eyes?
I could see.
At the same time, could you see outside the ambulance?
Yeah, at the same time, I was outside the ambulance. I could feel what was happening, what was going on with everyone.
So you were inside your body together. You saw through sockets.
Yes.
And outside the ambulance too, you could see the alley. You could also see your brother in the car 10 meters up the street.
Yes.
Oh, 3.
Yeah, at that moment.
In and outside body.
At the moment when I was seeing outside, I wasn't in my body.
So you were going back and forth.
I was going back.
You were moving between your body and outside your body.
The same thing had happened on the roof. I mean, when I saw my mother and couldn't hear any sound, and when I went into prostration and said, "God, please," he said, "You wanted to burn yourself, but we took care of it for you." I think I wasn't even inside my own body when I heard those sounds, because whenever I heard those sounds, I couldn't feel my body at all. I mean, I was outside of my body. In the ambulance, too, the same things happened. Until my brother got into the ambulance and said, "That's my brother, I have to go with him." The landlord's son left. He got out of the ambulance. My brother sat in his place next to the doctor. When the door closed, it was like the lights went out with it. I mean, it became completely dark and pitch black.
The moment the ambulance door closed,
It closed.
vision cut off.
Yes, blind.
And hearings?
Not hearings. There were still scattered whispers. Up until after that moment.
Whispers like what?
It was like a commotion. It sounded like a crowd. Then even the sound stopped. When the sound stopped too.
The murmurs.
Yeah, when the murmurs stopped, all of a sudden, it was like I could feel that I was lying on the bed like this. Someone is grabbing me from behind by the shoulders.
From the shoulder side.
Right in the middle, where the hollow of the neck connects to the back. I felt a strange pain, like someone was pulling me forcefully. With the force that pulled me, I felt like I was being thrown. You know how when someone has a fever and they're asleep, they feel like they're constantly falling off a cliff. I felt that. I felt like I was being thrown off the ambulance or wherever, into a well-like place. But I felt like it was a pit. It was like a tunnel, but it was dark.
It was going downward.
Yes, it was going downward.
People who commit suicide, unlike other experiencers, when they leave their bodies, most of them, according to the reports I've studied and the interviews I've conducted, move downward. Experiencer.
Then,
In Ilam, he said that when he hanged himself with a rope, he continued that downward movement. He moved downward inside something like a well that was filled with flames, smoke, and fire. The same thing has happened to several other non-Iranian experiencers, where after any kind of suicide, not always, but most of the time, there is a downward movement. Whereas, for other experiencers, when they leave their bodies, the movement is upward. Yes, please go ahead.
I was pulled downward a long time.
Pulled out of the shoulder, Ian.
I came out from my shoulder and went down. I'm going down. I could feel the air passing by me. Something was coming down with force, just like that. A lot of time passed. I couldn't feel the passage of time, but it felt like the pit I was falling into had no end. I was constantly falling. I couldn't even scream at all. It was like I was out of breath. It felt like there was so much pressure on my chest, and I was being pulled down so hard that I was mute and couldn't speak until...
What do you think caused you to go mute like that?
I don't know if it was the pressure on me or just being pulled down that made me unable to scream. It felt exactly like when you're riding on a swing. When you swing really hard, when the swing comes back, your breath gets caught in your chest. Or when you go forward with the wind pushing you. It's the same feeling. Your breath gets stuck in your chest. I also experienced this state where I couldn't speak or say anything. I just couldn't talk at all, and I kept falling with no end in sight. This falling just kept going.
When you say no end, you mean it felt really long.
It was long, very.
Now, maybe you can't say exactly how long, but about how much time do you think it was? Can you guess how long it lasted?
Maybe it was days.
Days?
Yeah, in my opinion, it felt like a really long time. I couldn't tell day from night, but I was so tired of falling and kept wondering why I still hadn't reached the end. What kind of pit is this that has no bottom? Why can't I reach the end of this fall? Until finally, I saw a dim light. A dull-like, hazy light, kind of like a smoky light. Not the kind of light people describe as a bright white light. No. It was a dull, hazy, dusty light, like fog, getting closer. While I was falling on my back right there. As I was falling like that, how can I explain it? I was falling at this angle, and I saw I was getting closer to a halo-like, foggy light, until suddenly I stopped. I mean, I was coming in such a hurry, and then I stopped. That moment when I suddenly stopped.
You hadn't reached the light.
No, I hadn't reached the light yet. The moment I stopped, it felt like something was pressing against my chest. but I couldn't feel my body in that darkness. Then I reached the bottom. I reached that light. I felt like I was on the ground now, and without thinking, I was pulled toward the light, toward that smoky, misty halo. I mean, I was unconsciously moving toward it.
You were being pulled?
No.
Or were you walking?
I was just going unconsciously. No, there was no movement. It was like I was floating somehow. I was just moving toward it.
You were being taken.
Yeah, I was taken. I entered somewhere through that light. It was like I was inside a cave, and I came out of the cave into a strange space. There was still, those mists were still there. But I could feel that this was a strange place. As I went further, I felt like my feet were on the ground. I felt some hardness under my feet. I couldn't see my body, but I could feel it. My feet were on the ground. It was a hard ground.
You couldn't see your own body.
No.
You could say you were just an observer.
Yeah.
With an invisible body.
Yes.
You can't call it a body, more like an invisible presence.
A liquid form, like a mirror, transparent. It was also like, I could see an aura that had hands and feet, but there was no skin or, like, bones or anything. It was something transparent. It was like a shadow, like an aura. When I entered, I touched the ground with my feet, and then it became clear to me. It was a place that you couldn't really call a desert. It was like a valley with really strange rocky mountains on either side. And these rocks were radiating heat. They were on fire. Like, you know how volcanoes have cracks. From those cracks, fire was blazing out. And we kept going along this path. After going a bit further, I saw a lot of people just like me, but it was like they were. How can I put it? They had an uncomfortable body, a ruined body. It was just strange. It didn't have skin. It was as if someone had dirted a piece of clay and then put it as its skin. It was like that. We were all human, the same people, you know, we were human. But there was something strange about them. And we kept moving along this path. It was like, subconsciously, we just felt we had to go down this path. And this path felt like a desert or rocky terrain, with cliffs on either side. Those same tall cliffs where flames would shoot up. And the ground itself was covered with rocks. Everything was burning hot. I could feel that all of it was on fire from the ground and from the sides, burning my feet. We just kept walking, kept going down that path. The crowd kept getting bigger, more and more people. Then I come to my senses. What am I doing here? It's starting to come back to me. Mehdi, you were at home. You set yourself on fire. What are you doing here now? What is this place? Where is this? Where am I? Until I said, God, what if I died? As soon as I said that, my heart just broke. I felt completely shattered inside. A wave of intense fear came over me. I was shaking. I could actually feel myself trembling. That's how scared and terrified I was. I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew was that I had to go through this path. I said, yes, I'm dead. So right now, I'm suffering in hell. Right now, this is the path I'm on. As I was saying this, I felt like the people around me, this crowd walking the same path, had probably committed suicide just like me.
What did they look like? What kind of condition were they in?
They had human faces, but they were in really terrible shape. It was like their skin had been peeled off. Some of them, for example, their eyes were bulging out of their sockets. I don't know why, but each person looked different, had a different appearance, but most of them had peeled skin, like, you know how mud cracks or a desert has those cracks? Their bodies were like that. They were all cracked, their skin had peeled off. We kept moving along the path. There was a commotion. The crowd got bigger. Suddenly, terrifying sounds started coming, both from the direction of the rocks, from the rocks themselves. When the sound came, it was like the mountain was being torn apart, and molten lava was coming out from inside the mountain. The sounds were so terrifying that I felt like my soul was about to leave my body from fear, like I was about to die. I thought I was dying again, and then coming back to life again. I kept moving along the path until an even more terrifying sound came. This sound wasn't human. The sounds were more like roars. It was tense. It was as if someone was addressing another person. I listened more closely, and I heard them shouting, and they kept saying this. "Go away, you useless beings. You humans are worthless. You must be destroyed." They kept repeating these words. "You are worthless. Go away, you disobedient creatures. Get up. Hey, you worthless being." As soon as I heard this, I could feel a shadow behind me. There were some really terrifying figures. Doctor, these were just their shadows. I didn't dare look at their faces. Their shadows were so large, so massive and terrifying, that I felt like my soul was being taken away. I felt an even more intense pain, and this crowd was surging forward. It was like they were chasing us. We had to run away from them to find shelter until the path got narrower and the crowd became more packed. Our ability to move became more limited. The path we were on got even weaker until those demons caught up with us. When they reached us, they had whips and clubs that were on fire, and anyone who stopped or got stuck behind the crowd couldn't move. They would hit them with those.
The material of those whips and clubs was fire.
It was made of fire. Yes. For example, when that whip struck, it was like a flame hit your body. The body would burn, it would fall apart, and then start over again from the same spot. The body would reform, and this would happen again and again, so he had to keep himself away from those demons, to get away from them. This path.
So you were all running away?
Yeah, everyone was running when they shouted at us. We just became more determined to escape from them, and we had no will to change our path. No, we just kept going the same way. It got to the point where this short path became so narrow that I felt one of them. His shadow was right behind me, and when I turned around, I saw him in a terrifying form. He gave me a warning, hit me with the same whip, and hit me with that stick or whatever tool he had in his hand so hard that I was completely burned out. I burned, exactly like sheets of paper that are burning, turning to ash and falling to the ground. That's what happened to me. My body burned, but I had a different perspective. I saw my own body from above. That state. I saw that thing burn, and then I reformed and came back to the same place.
So there was a Mehdi observing.
Yes.
And another Mehdi.
Struggling.
Observing down there.
Yes.
And he was running away.
He was running.
Those whips of fire that were hitting him, he was falling apart.
I fell apart. I could feel it.
Did the one above also feel the pain?
I could feel the pain.
Then this one would come and connect to that one. The two would become one.
Then it would connect to him again. I would take shape again, and we continued on the path.
Did you have any speech in that situation?
There was no speech.
Any noise? Any screaming?
There were only moans. I passed through the path. The path got narrower. There were two more of those sane ones, but their bodies were smaller. They looked exactly like a creature that was neither human nor animal. They didn't have noses on their faces. They were so terrifying. I feel like they didn't have noses. The nose was straight. These creatures looked like they just had skin stretched over them. It was uneven and covered with fuzz. It wasn't hair, it was fuzz, and they were so terrifying that the moment I saw their faces, I instinctively turned away. I just didn't want to see their faces at all. We reached this narrow path. They, as they say, chained us up.
Metal chains.
Yes, they were metal chains with a really large diameter, and they were very heavy, and we had to try to get away from them ourselves. Both because we were afraid of seeing what they looked like, and because we were scared they might hit us with whips or clubs. We got to a place that looked like a gate. They kept roaring and lashing their whips. We moved away from them, and every time we looked back, the crowd was getting bigger. It was like if we were at the entry point. Behind us there was a world full of people, and ahead of us there was no end in sight. So there was this gate, and after the gate there was a crowd of people. We got to the back of a gate, but it wasn't really a gate. It was more like a valley, but it had an entrance-like feel. It was made of stone, and those stones were like tongues of fire. As we got closer, there was a group of people who would throw those going into the valley down below. Now, down below, it was like a hell. When it was my turn, they hit me with, I don't even know what it was, some kind of tool. It was like a mace, made of wood. I'm not sure if it was wood or metal. It was something really huge and terrifying. They hit me so hard with it that I was thrown like this, into this valley full of fire. As I was falling, my body was burning. It was peeling off layer by layer. Even though this physical body had no shape, it was burning. It would fall into the molten stuff, into the fire. I would turn to ashes.
When you say that body has no shape, when it has no shape or can't be seen, it's transparent. So you can't really call it physical. It was a body that you could perceive.
Yes. Just like this body fell and was destroyed, again, I became an image. I saw my own body, that physical form, or that same liquid.
An image, or the observer of the image.
The observer. Again, I became the observer, seeing myself burning. I could feel the pain. Again, I would get attached to that same image. Again, I would be thrown down from above. This happened over and over again.
How many times?
Countless times. It repeated so much that I was finally able to speak there. It was only then that I could talk. I shouted and said, God, forgive me. God, that's enough. How much have I really sinned? This wasn't supposed to be my punishment. This wasn't the punishment I deserved. I kept asking, what sin did I commit? How much did I sin that I have to suffer this much? I suffered even when I was alive. My mother passed away. If my mother were alive, this wouldn't have happened. I was screaming. At the same time, as I was screaming, it felt like someone was calling me and pulling me again. In that same moment, I came home from there. I came home, and in one corner of the house, I realized the noise. The voice that called me was actually a loud noise. It was like someone was insulting. At the same time that I burned there, I came home. I came home and saw.
At the same time as that burning ended, we came home.
Yeah, for a moment, that burning stopped. It was like someone called my name. I came into the house. I came home and saw my brother had come. Apparently, after they brought me to the hospital, he had come from the hospital. At home, he was angry because the doctors had said my condition was really bad. Pray for him because he won't live. He came home and was really angry. I think it was that same night. Because I don't feel anything. But I knew it had just happened. My mother-in-law was there, my wife, and my kids, except for Elmas. I think I was just sitting at home. My brother came over. He was angry, to arguing with my wife. He acted unfairly. What happened? What did you do to my brother? Why did this have to happen? He was so upset that he was fighting with everyone. There was no peace at home at all. He was crying, yelling, he was shouting. He kept saying, "It's all your fault. What did you do to him?" My mother-in-law was trying to calm my brother down. She kept saying, "Javad, calm down. Javad, you have the right, but try to be calm. Javad, please calm down." But then, as soon as his eyes landed on my mother's photo, he went straight to it, grabbed the picture, and threw it on the ground. He kept saying, "It's all because of you. It's all your fault." Sorry, he punched it, then threw it down, repeating, "It's all your fault. It's all your fault. You left and ruined everything for everyone, all because of you that he killed himself too. Why did you leave? You left, and now he's gone too. I'm going to die. If I stay, I'll kill myself." I saw this scene. They told me, "Look at what you're doing. All this suffering is because of this. Look at your brother. Look at what he did to your mom's photo. Look at all the disrespect that happened."
These torments you're experiencing are because of that. It's because of the suffering you caused others.
Both my own suffering and this ongoing pain. The wrong things I did, and also what's happening to the people around because of me. Just as I was returning to the area, my father-in-law was coming up the stairs. Things calmed down. As I was leaving to get tormented again, my father-in-law arrived. After that, I have no idea what happened.
Have you seen this scene? Yes, until you brought up this scene with your brother, saying that I saw you enter the house and do these things.
After I was discharged from the hospital, after a few months. Although in the hospital I told him that you did something and came, but I didn't have the ability to understand what had happened or what was going on. Let me also say that after I was discharged, I didn't have any feelings or experiences. I just thought something had happened and I would tell others about it. The others would say I was hallucinating. You don't know. You're saying it wrong. I told them about a lot of things that had happened, just like that, things that had gone wrong, but they would say no. You are hallucinating because of your illness. It was during the first week after I was discharged and I was at home. Some days I got up, other days after 2 days. My bandages were changed and they took me to the bathroom. Then my doctor had told them not to let me see myself in the mirror under any circumstances. Don't hold a mirror in front of her. I had gotten really skinny. My eyes were all sunken in. I honestly looked ugly. My whole body was burned. It was just flesh. So they took me outside. They were changing my bandages. It was really painful for me. In a moment, as they lifted me up, they weren't paying attention and I saw the bathroom mirror. As soon as I turned, I saw my face in the mirror. I realized, oh, this is the same demon I saw in that other world. I fainted instantly.
You saw that you looked just like the demons you had seen there.
Yes.
In fact, those demons were actually you.
Yeah.
Or it's your actions that?
No, my actions. I think it was my actions, because it was my own face, but I had their appearance. I mean, I was scared of my own face. I passed out in the bathroom.
From sheer terror?
The moment I fainted, it was like a movie or something. Like a movie that lasts several hours, maybe 100 hours. It all played out in my mind. I mean, all the things I experienced came back to me in that moment.
You relived that experience there.
Reviewed. Now, let me go back.
You announced to everyone what you saw from each of them.
Not to everyone.
And for most people, you didn't even say what you saw. What did you see from them? As far as I remember, I confronted you face to face, right? Many times, you viewers have questions about how the fact-checking is done. There are dozens of indicators and criteria for conducting fact checks. This time, we want to show you just one of these. Just one, and only one, of these dozens of criteria will be shown to you. In fact, it's a behind-the-scenes look that is now coming to the forefront. We will be out of the studio for an extended period of time, and during this time, we will be presenting this program to you in a completely new and updated format. Let's see the reactions of people who, for the first time, become aware of what the experiencer tells them. In that incident 3 or 4 years ago, while they were outside of their own bodies, they saw you in a certain situation, doing something.
Yes.
They kept it hidden from you until today, and now, at this moment, we want to talk to you about it. Listen, and if you have any questions or want to discuss anything with them, please do.
Okay.
After that incident, when I was in a coma, I was taken to another place. It was like I was supposed to suffer in some way. It was really hard for me. In that so-called hell where I was burning, and every time this kept happening, until it reached a point where I heard a very beautiful Quranic voice, or the call to prayer, the sound of Allahu Akbar from the adhan. It was such a pleasant and soothing sound, which was really interesting to me, and whenever I heard it, I felt like I was moving away from the torment. I felt the burning less and less. I was suffering less.
When you talk about this suffering and burning, do you mean the pain and burning from your body, or the suffering and burning from the punishment you were receiving there?
It was the punishment I received there.
Did you understand, ma'am?
Yes. So to speak, I was being punished there. The call to Allahu Akbar, the Quran, was so beautiful that it was pleasing to the ear. It was calming. It was so calming that the feeling of suffering started to fade. Without even thinking, I wondered where this sound of the call to prayer, this Quran recitation, and supplication was coming from. The sound was so beautiful that, in an instant, I found myself flying toward your house. My mother's house. There was a sound coming from there. It was the sound of adhan, the sound of the Quran, until I heard the sound. It felt like the fire was moving away from me. I saw it was my cousin. The Quran. That made it so I wasn't suffering anymore. You were inside the room, the one with the bed and everything.
Yes.
In the upstairs room, you were sitting under a very beautiful chatter and reciting the Quran. The place was so full of light that your face looked dim in comparison. It was like there was a frame around your face. You were wearing a very beautiful white chatter. You were in prostration, on a prayer rug, reciting the Quran. You were pouring your intentions out so sincerely. At that moment, your recitation of the Quran made my torment less and eased my pain. And this is something I've never told you before. One of my punishments was, unfortunately, I had committed a terrible act, and that was. I had done an abortion.
I went through a really tough ordeal because of that, but this is the first time I'm explaining it to everyone. For the very first time, I'm explaining that at that moment, I entered a place, a gateway opened up for me, where there were many children. They were in their own paradise, enjoying it. There was a river, trees, and it was a very beautiful place. It truly was like paradise. The sound of the children's laughter was calming for me. I was really thirsty. It felt like it had been years. I was suffering there, but with the recitation of the Quran by you, I was pulled back to a beautiful place after I saw you. I entered that place and saw a child coming toward me. I was extremely thirsty. The child had a bowl of water in his hand and came toward me, offering me the water. I drank it. There was always someone by my side. He told me, this is the child that when he was 3 months old in his mother's womb, you choose to abort him a few years ago. I was deeply saddened and suffered a lot. Then that person said, the child will belong to someone who is truly in need, someone who desperately longs to love a child. Because you don't deserve it. A child belongs to the one who truly deserves it, the one who used to recite the Quran for you. Soon, the sound of that sweet child will fill her life, and it will become a torment for you. I really apologize for saying this, but for 3 years, this was something I kept in my heart and couldn't bring myself to say, not even in my journal. Maybe I didn't even write it down, but it was a reality. And in that difficult moment, it was truly hard. It tormented me. The worst sin was that I burned myself, and even worse was that I deprived that child of the blessing of life. But I was happy that one of my closest friends or acquaintances, by reciting that same Quran, saved me from that torment, and that made me happy. That event made it so that a family could experience the sound of a child's cry and the joy of a child, and I hope that day comes very soon, maybe even in these very days. Sorry if I upset you or made you feel bad.
I'm sorry to hear this. I'm happy that even if I was at home, I could genuinely help you from that fire, honestly, at that very moment when people around me had informed me about your incident. A sense kept telling me, go read the Quran in my head. I felt like you needed that from me, even though I was feeling really upset, even though I was in such a bad state. I didn't want this to happen to you. I kept asking, why? He did it. Why, when we are already in pain of the loss of our aunt? I went toward it completely unconsciously. It wasn't even logical. When I opened the Quran, my tears were just streaming down as I read. I wasn't even looking at what it was. I was just reading. I kept saying, God, please bring him back to our family. We can't handle losing another one. I can't bear this. It's so hard for us. Especially losing a cousin after an aunt, it would be hard. About the child, there's really nothing more to say. For exactly 5 years, we've been constantly trying to have a child indeed. Just today, I came home straight from the doctor's office, had lunch, and then put my uniform back on and said I'd come for the interview. Honestly, I didn't know. It's really strange how it happened. It's really hard to keep asking God for the same thing for years. Honestly, I just got a really good feeling. The good feeling was that no matter how hard I try to get something, in the end, I get it from a place I never even imagined.
Did you ever think you would get this sweet news this way?
Not at all.
When I entered the hall, I was so preoccupied that I kept asking myself, what does Mr. Mehdi want to tell me? What happened there that has anything to do with me? But when I came out of that room and got my answer, I felt so good. I became so hopeful. I never thought that by simply reading the Quran, I could get an answer so easily.
Do you want to talk about your feelings? Not about what happened, just your feelings.
I never thought I would experience this here. For example, my mood changed a lot. It's even more intense than I imagined.
Have you ever had anything stranger than this in your life?
Honestly, there was never a time when I imagined someone else to bring me this kind of news. I would always find out myself. But this, I really never expected it. It was truly strange for me. Thank God, really, I never expected it at all. I never thought I would get it. I feel like my mom is getting it.
There's more to it.
Before I came into the room, I was feeling curious. I wanted to know what Mehdi was going to say about me. Like, he saw me there. How was I? What does Mehdi know? Things like that. It was mostly curiosity to see what Mehdi would say.
He was completely out of his body in that particular situation, and he saw you just as you were in that very state. I'm going to share his experience with you so you can hear it, and if you have any questions, let's discuss them. If you have any feelings, let those feelings be completely real, natural, and free. Let us sense your emotions, and let him do the same. Feel comfortable here. We're not here to judge. You're among friends. Sir, Please go ahead and tell us what happened to you after this incident.
When I burned myself, I was on the verge of death, or as if my soul had entered another place that was really miserable and always full of torment. It was because of the harm I had done to myself, and the only thing that helped was if the people around me, if they prayed for me, read the Quran, or did religious recitation or a ritual for me. I saw that there was a place where I was suffering a lot. Every now and then, when I wished I could move out of that misery, I would remember your house. Suddenly, I found myself at your house. You were really very upset that day. You truly weren't feeling well at all. And I remember so clearly that you were carefully organizing a group of people to recite prayers together. At that very moment, I was actually in your house, right next to your phone, as you were using it to set up the prayer recitation group. I remember seeing you very upset and crying at that moment, and I remember at that moment you were so upset that you even slapped yourself a few times. At that moment, I felt a pain, realizing that these servants of God are hurting themselves because of me, and that your mistake caused other servants to harm themselves and suffer emotionally. It was really... From that moment, I know you were really upset and deeply troubled because of what I did. I remember whenever someone in the group or anyone would call you or your husband, you mentioned my name and you requested them to pray for me. This was part of my experience, that whenever I would come to your house or when I saw your daughter reciting the Quran, I would get a lot better. That was my experience from this situation. And I really want to thank you for all the effort you put in, and I also want to apologize and say I'm sorry. I feel indebted to you.
May I ask, is this true?
Yes, after we heard that he burned himself, that he had attempted suicide. We had a family group, and we immediately joined the group and announced that this had happened to Mehdi. We all started to pray together for Mehdi, because my nephew said that Mehdi's burns were very severe and the chances of him surviving were extremely low. I was really upset because I had just lost my sister, and these were my sister's children. It was really hard for me. We immediately started the prayer. Even my sister-in-law wasn't in the group, so I brought her in too. I told her, you start as well, and get your family to join in so we can get this prayer chain going as soon as possible. Yeah, that's exactly how it was. We really tried, and actually, because there were so many people, it all happened pretty quickly.
Did you tell him right away?
No, he wasn't there. I think, honestly, for a month or two, Mehdi hadn't even come to my house. I hadn't seen Mehdi at all.
When you were creating the group, he said you were in the room and you were crying and even hurt yourself, right?
Yes. I was really upset that I couldn't do anything for him, that I couldn't go see him to comfort myself. That really bothered me. I was alone at home.
Have you told anyone about this until now?
No, I haven't told anyone. I never told anyone that this happened to me, that I did this to myself.
Now, one person from your private moments is telling you about it.
I never thought that Mehdi would have seen this. I really didn't expect it at all. The feeling that, honestly, in your own private moments, these kinds of situations might come up where someone wants to see what you did. It's really an experience I never thought I'd have. I never imagined that in my private moments, someone would see what I was doing. Now that I realize it, I get goosebumps. It's such a strange feeling for a person.
were so nervous and anxious that you even hurt your own hand and injured it.
So, what exactly happened to their hand?
Oh, right. I think they were peeling potatoes at the time. The thing is, I was there, and their mind was so preoccupied that they ended up cutting their own hand. Even the kids started yelling afterward, like, "What is she doing to her own hand?" I think some of the wound got some sticks afterwards.
Is that right, ma'am?
It was really bad. While I was talking on the phone, I needed something from the closet, and I was so nervous that I was crying on the phone, practically shouting. I yanked the zipper on my bag open so hard that my hand hit the sharp edge of the closet, and it started bleeding. That's how upset I was. I was in such a bad state that I didn't even notice when my kid came and said, "Mom, what happened to your hand? It's bleeding." Even while I was doing things around the house, the kids would say, "Mom, put a bandage on it." And I'd just yell, "I'll do it. Leave me alone."
He mentioned two things about your situation. One, that you were upset at home and lashed out at the kids. And two, that you hurt yourself and your husband came to your help. Had you ever tell him all these?
Not at all, honestly.
He says you cued hand with the fruits. Now, I have a question. Is it possible that your hand had hurt by the closet the same day as you were cutting the fruits? He came and saw your hand when you were cutting fruits, and he thought it's because of the fruits, while in fact it happened earlier the same day?
No, it was the same day. Well, I was feeling so bad. My hand was bleeding a lot. The kids kept looking for tissues, saying, "Mom, your hand is bleeding." I told them, "Leave me alone." I was practically screaming at them. Even in that state, I was still doing my housework. Then I went to the emergency room at the same hospital where he was admitted, and they stitched it up. I mean, it really needed stitches.
He arrived at that very same time and saw your hand was injured and you were still doing housework, and he thought it was just a cut from a knife.
I'm really sorry. Forgive me. They showed me that after my death, my children would become orphans and would be destroyed at the hands of a stepfather. Even my father would be driven to the brink of madness, dying from heartbreak, and then my brother would end up committing suicide and taking his own life. And I even saw the future, that at that time, my brother's house wasn't finished yet. When the incident happened, his house wasn't complete, but now it's been built. You would come and curse me just like everyone else. I saw that my brother had committed suicide in the future while he was still building his house, and it was only half finished. My brother's wife would come and open the window, or if not, she would come into the yard and curse me. She would say, "Mehdi, may God curse you. You left and my husband killed himself." The kids became orphans too. She'd say, "What am I supposed to do? May God curse you, Mehdi, because with what you did, you made my kids fatherless. You made them orphans." They were really upset, and they had every right to be, because what I did caused the whole family to fall apart, to be destroyed, and it even hurt my brother's kids and affected their lives. What I did caused my brother to be overwhelmed with problems, or my father to die of grief, and even my own kids could be ruined. My own life was destroyed, and on top of that, I ruined someone else's life too. This was the future that would have happened if you hadn't come back, and in the future, she would have always been upset with you. And I asked them to forgive me and to be pleased with me.
Honestly, I thought you were seeing her thoughts, but you actually saw her future. Before he even said these things, you told me, what did your husband said?
If Mehdi dies, something will happen to him too.
So, he saw a future that your husband had actually announced. Did he know that your husband had say this? Did you tell him?
No. Even in my thoughts, I hadn't actually said anything out loud about such a thing happening. But it did cross my mind that if something like that were to happen, it would really be unfair to me, and maybe I wouldn't forgive her. But I never said it out loud. It just passed through my mind. I mean, I hadn't even said anything like that to myself when I was alone.
So, the future that they saw was, on one hand, aligned with your inner feelings, and on the other hand, matched what your spouse expressed, even though you hadn't actually said it out loud, just thought it in your mind.
After that incident, I just came into my own house and saw my brother angry. He came home and started arguing with my wife, and he even wanted to argue with my mother-in-law. Then my mother-in-law and father-in-law came upstairs, and I remember that. After that, he did something that scared me. He picked up the frame picture of my mom and hit it on the ground, and it broke. The photo of my mother was on the main table, and it was like he threw it off the main table and broke it. And he kept saying to the photo, "This is all because of you. You died. Where are we now? This is all your fault. You left and made things worse. And now this is happening because of you. So what are we supposed to do now? We're just stuck here ourselves." He even said something like, "I'll kill myself too." Then they started arguing about whose fault it was. My mother-in-law was there, and so was my wife. Then my father-in-law arrived, and things calmed down a bit when he came.
So the order of people coming in was correct?
Yes, that's right.
There was another part where I came back to my bed, but I saw someone there. Later I realized it was actually me. His face looked really terrifying, like it was swollen and puffed up so much that I couldn't recognize him at all. I kept looking around, thinking it was someone else, someone big. And suddenly, with the sound of a bell ringing in my ear, I heard my brother's voice. He was talking to someone on the phone. At that moment, there was a wall or glass between us. They were on the other side of it. There was a doctor and a nurse. I think the nurse's name was Nigerian, and they were trying to convince him, saying, "Look, your brother is swollen." And interestingly, either a day before, or maybe at that very moment, since time didn't really exist there, they had brought in someone who had been in a truck with their family. They had set up a picnic. The truck had a heater on, and suddenly there was a fire. Their child was in really bad shape. The wife had minor burns, but the man was severely burned. He hadn't been able to survive. I even talked with him, and he said, "I couldn't get out, so I got burned even more." And this poor guy swelled up so much, his whole body was so bloated that even the pores of his skin were swollen, like his body was about to burst. He passed away. Then they came to my brother and were saying that I would have the same result. They said, "Now you need to give your consent to disconnect him from the machine. He's only alive because of the machine. If you turn off the machine, he's gone." I clearly remember that at that point he got really angry and snapped at them. He said, "God gave him life, and God will take it away. He's alive. He still has life in him. He's still breathing. The machine is just connected, but he's breathing. Why do you want to kill him?" He even lashed out at them so forcefully that the nurses were convinced and didn't say anything else. They even wanted to go talk to my wife the same way, but then they changed their mind.
All he said is completely true. Every time I went to the hospital, they would say, "This is pointless. There's no hope." Every single day I went there actually, and every day they would say there's no hope. Only one person was allowed in, and that was myself every day, so by then they pretty much knew me there.
What are some things that you never told him? Things you didn't tell anyone else either? But he told you about them, like he saw you without you telling him?
One of them was the photo of our mother, and another was in the ambulance, because in the ambulance he was totally unconscious. He didn't understand a word. He didn't even know that something like this had happened, like that I had gotten out of the car, for example. And at their house, it was the same. I didn't realize myself that I was driving fast, and that I got out of a moving car myself. He later told me about these incidents when he was on the hospital bed, when he finally got discharged from the ICU. At first, we just thought he is telling some hallucinations. We didn't take him serious. Then when we went to his own house and he started giving some specific details, such as the photo, we started to believe. I didn't know about your shows. Honestly, I didn't even care about these stuff before. Honestly, I don't really watch TV that much. Didn't even have the time for it. But ever since this happened to us, honestly, it's been about 2 years now that I've been watching the show, and I pay really close attention to it. But before, no.
There might be something inside you, in your heart, that you're not even aware of, something you haven't forgiven, even though you think you have. Right now, forgive him, let it go. He's your brother, and you've acted like a brother to him. Hug him, forgive him, let it go.
Something happened. This time, what happened was actually pleasant. For a moment, it was like I was pulled out of that torment, out of that place. It felt like God heard my voice and said, "That's enough. This suffering ends here. Let's go somewhere else." Right at that moment when it ended, the call started coming. It was the sound of the call to prayer. It was the sound of the Quran. That sound was so sweet. As soon as I heard that sound, this body rose from the fire and I started moving. I went toward the sound. I saw it was my cousin. The Quran, that was what made me stop suffering. The only person who saved me from that torment. She saved me from that mourning, from that misery. This lady, I owe her for the rest of my life. I made a vow to myself that whenever I pray, all the reward goes only to her. I don't want any reward for myself. I want the reward from my prayers to be only for her, because she was truly the only one who saved me from that torment. Because whenever I was suffering because of what I had done and what they were doing, I would suffer and then go back again, in that hell, in that torment. But the only person whose recitation of the Quran brought me peace and saved me from that torment and that fire was this lady. I saw that she was reciting the Quran. It was so delightful that I became absorbed in the sound of her recitation and got closer. I got so close that I saw she was crying. When those tears fell from her face, it burned my heart. I felt like I was on fire. I kept telling myself, "Look, Mehdi, see how much pain you're causing. She's reciting the Quran for you and crying for you." I witnessed this whole scene. Then I went back to the same place as before and found myself on that same path again, the one with the rocks. But this time, those rocks were gone. The heat was less intense, and also, those mud and chains were gone too. But it was still the same path and the same people. I felt like the others had made the same mistake as me, committed the same sin, and we kept going down that path. But this time, there were no more mud and chains, and those terrifying demons were gone too. The rocks were gone as well. There was just a desert. There was only a narrow path. It was hot, barren, and that was it. But there was no more lava or those terrifying creatures. Eventually, we reached another gate. It felt like this gate was a kind of rest stop for us.
There were a lot of people at the gate. We were all packed together. It was just like it was as if we had fallen into a swamp of filth. But even that was better than the burning and the hell from before.
A swamp.
Yeah, it was a swamp. It was like there were so many of us. We were all piled on top of each other. Sorry. It was like worms, you know, a place full of worms all tangled together. That's how we were. Everything was filth and muck, and sometimes we even ended up eating that filth. Because of the fire, because of hunger, we were forced to eat the filth. Again, the same torments were there. On that same path, with those same people. But there were no faces. We all looked kind of the same. Our faces were dusty, dirty, polluted, and sickly. In a way, we were all weary. We were there mixed together. Our faces were dull. They were blurred.
Is there even a 1% chance that what you're describing could have been a dream, a hallucination, or was it exactly real?
No, it was exactly real. Because for a long time afterward, sometimes when I tried to eat, the food tasted rotten to me. There were people there who had committed other sins than I had. They murdered. They had committed crimes. I even shouted. I said, "Come on, what am I doing here with these people? Where am I?" These people had committed 1,000 crimes, 1,000 acts of wickedness. Why should I be here? For example, one of them was Hitler, or another one ISIS member. There were worst criminals. I recognized their faces, and I was being counted among them. It was like I was being put on their level and suffering because of it. They said, "No, we're trying to make you understand. Both that person suffers and you suffer, and so does the one who, in another way, was ungrateful to their own body." Well, for example, Hitler had committed suicide. That stench, I would say, "God, I am a sinner. I admit I'm a bad person. I committed this crime and have to be punished. But in addition to these, I have done a few right things during my life. Come on, at least I prayed sometimes, or I did at least a few good things. It wasn't all bad. It wasn't all mistakes. At that moment, I was pulled away from there and went to the place with the images. For example, there were a ton of images showing everything from my birth up until that day. He said, "Do you think God isn't paying attention?" A few years ago, my family and I went out. We went out of town for some fun. We went to one of those sandwich shops and ordered food. It was me, my daughter, and my wife. Then there was this young boy who was rummaging through the trash cans. He was looking for something, and it really broke my heart. I said, "Poor kid, he doesn't deserve this." I went over and asked the guy, "Can you make us an extra sandwich and all that?" Then I told my son it would be wrong for me to go give him. I told my son, "Look at that boy, go give him that sandwich." They even showed me that moment. He said, "This good deed you did, for example, was an act of charity." That kid, for instance, at least had a full stomach that day. I felt that he was happy. Not right there, though. Up there, in that place with those images, I felt that he was happy. He said, "God saw that too." He showed me that, and some other good things I had done as well. For example, there was a time someone was having a problem. I reached out and helped him. Even while I was sick myself, I was helping them. It was a family. A little before this, when my mother was still alive, there were 2 kids we became guardians for. My mother took one, and I took the other. He showed that to you. He said, "Look, you did this. We are aware of everything. All of your actions have been recorded. There are even pictures of them. But you had no right to do this to yourself. Your body is a trust. You betrayed that trust. You destroyed your body. It was over. That suffering ended there too. The images ended too. I found myself on another path again. This path was much better. There was no more suffering. There was no more pain. It was a desert, but it was a beautiful desert. There were dried up trees that were interesting. That dryness, those trees, didn't exist in our world. They weren't like anything in our world. I continued along this path. I saw myself. There was a beautiful person whose face couldn't really be described. But it was a well-groomed, beautiful person. They were wearing beautiful clothes. It looked like traditional Arabic clothing, but even longer. It was like a long sheet draped over them. Only the face was somewhat visible, beautiful and pleasant. This person became etched in my mind. It was like a sense of calm washed over me. I felt at peace. He greeted me. He said, "Hello, Mehdi, how are you?" I was surprised that he knew my name. Actually, when he spoke, his lips didn't move at all. I could just hear it. Then I said, "Yeah, I'm good." "Who are you?" He said, "Me." "Me." "I am you. I am you, in another inner form. Your friend, your guide. I'm someone who is always by your side. But in some situations, when you're about to go astray, I'm not there. That's me. I was really happy. I felt like I had found a true friend, in all that loneliness and strangeness. He would walk right beside me, but there were times when he wouldn't come along with me. At times when I was making mistakes or slipping up, he wouldn't come with me. He wouldn't stay by my side. Why weren't you there when things got tough? I was really suffering then. I wish you had come. Don't say I wasn't supposed to be there with you at that time. I'm with you now, but there are still some times when I'll leave again. He would say, "My title is guide. I'm your guide friend, and as long as you're alive in this world, I'm by your side. When you do something good, I'm right there with you. But when you're about to make a mistake, in my mind I'm telling you, Mehdi, think first before you make that mistake. That mistake you're about to make will have a heavy price." Here, too, I take on a form, stay by your side, and tell you what to do. He would show me the way. He asked, "Why did you do this to yourself? Why did you hurt your body?" His words would bring me peace. "You need to go and ask your body for forgiveness. You're still stuck here because of this." Then he said, "Yes, you got sick. Yes, you suffered, but God gave you a second chance at life. It was supposed to happen before this." At one point, he showed me and said, "Look, there were several times you were about to die, but God saved you." One of those days was during this surgery. I was unconscious in the hospital for 11 hours. Because of the tumors they removed from your neck, you were unconscious for 11 hours. The doctor told you it was 50-50. He said there was a 50% chance you wouldn't make it out of surgery, or if you did, you'd be paralyzed. But you didn't come out paralyzed. Another time was back in 2003, when I had an accident with my father. I was little. Back then, God saved you again. When you had that accident, the motorcycle was thrown. The motorcycle was about to. When you were thrown, the motorcycle almost landed right on your skull. You were about to hit the asphalt hard. But what happened? Instead, your leg broke. When I had that accident and the motorcycle fell on my leg, my left leg broke in 2 places, right at the knee. Those things were really meant to happen there. But God stopped it. God loved you. Now He wants to save you, but you have to want it yourself. You have to want it from Him yourself. Mehdi, if you, die or get destroyed and end up in hell, you'll have to answer for it until the day of judgment. As long as you haven't gotten forgiveness from this body. Mehdi, you won't see a good day. He said, let me show you some things so you know where God's attention is, how much He loves you. We went to a place that was like a garden. It was actually a play area, an open space for playing. It was a pleasant space for kids. Then the entrance was small. There were a few steps leading down to a tiny, very beautiful little house for kids. I was overlooking this house. I mean, when I wanted to go, I could see this house and even inside it. Then, inside this little house, there was a garden. It was a beautiful play area for kids. In front of these steps, there was a small stream. Water was flowing from it. I felt like this water was really refreshing, really sweet. But whenever I wanted to go up to it, I wasn't allowed to use that water. When the breeze would come, I could taste the flavor of that water. I really liked this water, and I was so thirsty to drink from it. I wanted to take just a sip of this water, but I wasn't allowed. There were a lot of kids playing there. They were all about the same age. No older than 2 or 3 years old, and...
So these 3-year-old kids could play there?
Yeah. At one point, I saw a child coming toward me. He brought me a little bit of that water. I was really thirsty. I took a sip of that water. It felt like all that exhaustion, all those bad things that happened, the burns, and all that suffering just lifted off me. I took a deep, peaceful breath. He was a really beautiful boy. He was about 2 years old, but he had such an innocent and beautiful face. I looked at him for a long time. He was really beautiful. Then, he kept looking at me and smiling. I smiled back at him too. The person next to me said, "Do you know who he is?" I said no. He's so beautiful. He said, "Do you know who he is?" I said no. He said, "This is the same child that a few years ago, when he was 3 months in his mother's womb, you aborted him." He said, "This is the same." Child that you aborted a few years ago. You didn't love him. I burst into tears. I started crying so much. I was cursing myself. I kept saying, "Mehdi, what have you done? Look, the innocent child is smiling." I told him, I swear to God it wasn't my fault. People around me kept saying no. No, why do you want a child? They put so much psychological pressure on me, but I really love kids so much, endlessly. I get attached to any child I come across. I don't even know how that whole thing happened. I was forced to have that child aborted. The baby would smile at me and look at me.
when I realized I started crying. For a moment, I got scared. I thought, what if this child curses me? Will I have to endure that torment all over again? I got upset again. He said, "Look, Mehdi, you destroyed such a beautiful child with your own hands and carelessness. And now this child has come to save you. This innocent child you destroyed came to save you." It was like I was right back in those moments of torment. I suffered again, not because the child had cursed me or anything. No, it was me. My own conscience was torturing me. Then the person next to me said, "Do you see what you've done, Mehdi? A lot of people would do anything just to have a child. I just couldn't forgive myself." He said, "Come on, let's go now. Maybe you'll find a way out. Call out to God." As I was about to call out to God, I heard that same call to prayer and the same Quran recitation again. Once again, I went to my aunt's house. I saw my aunt talking to the neighbor, gathering a group on her phone. They were organizing a prayer recitation and preparing a ceremonial meal. They wanted to recite the Quran for me so I could be saved. Then I asked, "But why should I be saved? With all the crimes I've committed, why should I be saved?" At that very moment, it was as if he knew exactly what I was about to say. He said, "Come with me and I'll tell you." I went to the hospital. It was the first time I saw my own body. I got up from an angle. I came and stood over my body. At first, I didn't realize that body was mine. I said, "God, who is this? Why is this person so swollen? Why do it look like this?" He said, "That's you. It's you who ruined yourself like this." I told him, "This isn't me." He said, "It is. I'm not like this, not this fat." He said, "You're swollen. Your whole body is swollen." I was shocked. God, what have I done to myself?
If it's a matter of memory, if it's the brain's doing. These things happen because the person's brain has always seen themselves in the mirror looking this way, not swollen from a burn. And this person has never been burned before to know that swelling would happen. Nor have they seen anyone else who's been burned to know that swelling occurs. So their brain, their memory, has no concept of swelling. But now, they're seeing the reality. A swollen body, to the point where in conversation he says, "This isn't me." He even insists, "This isn't me." Then it's explained to him why it is him, and that the swelling is from the fire. The brain can't handle this. Please continue on.
Shout out, call on God. Go ask someone to intercede so you can come back. If you don't come back, you'll suffer a lot. Call out to Mehdi so you can return.
If you don't come back, you'll suffer a lot.
You'll suffer.
It wasn't like, as someone who attempted suicide, you were forgiven. Punishment is waiting.
Punishment is waiting for me. I reached out my hand. God, Mom, please help me. As soon as I said, "Mom, please help me," my mother appeared. She still had that same sadness. She said, "Mehdi, what have you done to yourself?" I said, "Mom, forgive me. Mom, I was wrong. Let me come back. Ask them to let me come back. You be my intercessor."
A mother is a mother, even in that world.
Yes. My mother had stepped away a bit, a little higher up, and she turned to God. She said, "God, forgive my child for me."
Oh, Mother.
When she said this, it was as if a heavy burden, all that weight and sadness, was suddenly lifted from my soul.
Oh, Mother.
And that was the last time I saw my mother. And it was the last time I went to my mother. Every time I went to her grave, I talked to her. I couldn't see her anymore. It felt like I found myself in a better place again. I saw a place. It was a vast, very beautiful garden. As soon as I got there, it was like a halo blocked my way. I opened my eyes wider to see what was going on here. I saw that it seemed like everyone here was a martyr. I think they were martyrs from the very beginning of Islam. That is, from the time of our Prophet up to the recent martyrs. A cool breeze was blowing from that side, and it eased the intense heat in my body, that burning, that pressure. The end of the garden is the same as here. That means I'm seeing that person standing at the end of the garden. And I can also see the person standing right here in front.
Distance didn't matter.
Distance didn't matter. This garden, which is vast, feels to me like it's only about 10 or 20 centimeters across. Maybe a meter. All these distances.
Far and nearby.
Yes. All angles were visible. If I want to look over here, I can see this area. I can see this part of the garden and the end of the garden. I can see behind that tree.
A full 360-degree view. You could see behind too.
More than 360 degree.
Spherical.
Yeah, something like that. I didn't have to turn my head to see this side. I could see this side. I could see the other side too. I could see in front of me. This garden was so big that the beginning and the end were the same. And the martyrs were there. Many of our martyrs were gathered together in a circle. I also saw someone. I focused my gaze on that person. A gentle breeze blew. And there was this unique fragrance. Being someone who sells perfumes, I've never found a scent like that. There was a man, a big, athletic figure, wearing traditional Arabic clothing. White, a green scarf. Oh, and there was a green scarf around his head. His back was turned to me. But this person was so radiant and shining that I was completely captivated by him. I was about to ask, "Who is this?" He said, "Don't you recognize him?" I said, "No, who is this gentleman?" He gives me such a sense of peace. I kept wanting to see him, to see his face. Whenever I tried to get closer, he said, "You're not allowed to see him. You're not worthy of seeing this person yet." As soon as he said that, my heart broke. I asked, "Who is this person?" "I really want to see him. It's my wish to see him."
Couldn't you see?
No, I couldn't see his face. It was like there was a distance between us. I wasn't allowed to get closer to see him more clearly.
But you said you saw his build, his clothes, and all that.
From behind.
Right.
But I couldn't see his face. I just saw his back, and he gave me a sense of peace. He said it's our Amir, which I realized later what it meant. Amir al-Mu'minin. As soon as he said that, it was like I was set on fire. Why wouldn't I be worthy? I've gone to visit his shrine. I've visited him twice. I love him. Whenever I'm in trouble, I say, "Ya Ali." I want to get up. I say, "Ya Ali." When I want to sit down, I say, "Ya Ali, may I be sacrificed for you? Why can't I see you? Why am I not worthy?" Well, because of your mistakes. Look what you did that you can't see. At least now, thank God, you have this very moment. As soon as he said that, I said, I wish I could die. I want to die. I want to be tormented, just to be able to stay here. For God's sake, do whatever you want with me. Just let me see him. Let me see my master's face. I want so much to see. Why everyone else see him, but I can't. What do I have less than them? Is it possible, just for a moment, to see my master's radiant face? But I wasn't allowed. I, the unworthy one, wasn't allowed. I, worthless as dirt, wasn't allowed. Why? Because I made that mistake. That's why, even now, I still can't forgive myself. I'm still regretful. Why? Because I have no right to see that man. It was as if he heard the voice. I felt like that he was saying, is there anyone who can intercede for this servant, so God will save him? It seemed like he himself didn't want to. Either his heart was upset with me because of the mistake I made, and he didn't want to save me. Or maybe he was deeply moved. He came to find an intercessor. Someone from over there said, my master, Amir, please forgive this servant for me. Let me be his intercessor. I didn't recognize him at first. At first, I didn't recognize him. Who is this person? He raised his hand toward the sky. God, for my sake, forgive this sinful servant of yours. Once again, I felt the same feeling I had when my mother said it, as if another burden of hardship was lifted from me. He said, Mehdi, be happy that you're going to return.
You came here because of your mother's prayers, right?
Yes, I came here because of my mother's prayers. And now, thanks to this person's prayer, I'm returning to life.
I asked, who is this person? Who was he?
Habib ibn Mazahir. I'd visit Habib ibn Mazahir's grave twice. I'd visit Habib ibn Mazahir when I visited Imam Hussein's grave. Then I'd come back and visit this good man, pray there. I went to Karbala twice. The same thing happened. I visited him. I visited his grave again. Because of that visit I made and the prayer I recited for him, this person became an intercessor between me and God, so that God would forgive me, and he did. He said, Mehdi, now you have been forgiven. Now you have to go back. I said, can I stay here? I just want to see this place. It was the best place for me, but I wasn't allowed to go to them. But just the feeling of peace they gave me, and that call, the call of the Quran, gave me a sense of calm. That alone was a blessing for me. He said, do you want me to show you something to explain why it's better for you to go back? He took me to my brother's house. He said, if you die, your kids will be left without a father. Your wife will remarry. A man will come into their lives who will make things hard for your kids. These kids will be heartbroken and die. Your father will see his grandchildren die, and it will break his heart. Your brother will end up committing suicide too. I saw that my brother had killed himself. In the future, when he is building his house, it was left unfinished. My brother's wife would come and open the window and curse me. She would say, Mehdi, may God damn you.
In my thoughts, I had never actually said it out loud, like that something like this could happen. But honestly, it would cross my mind that if something like this did happen, it would really be a huge injustice to me. Maybe I wouldn't be able to forgive him.
With this person, whose name was Guide, we kept going along the path. This time, the path was much better. The path was greener. It was a garden. It had beautiful trees. He asked, where would you like to go? I said, my mother's grave. There were no other graves. I saw that it looked like elegant gardens, and each one had its own specific size. I entered my mother's garden. I could only hear her voice. She said, "Mehdi, are you well?" I said, "I love you. I'm fine. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for praying for me." I heard her say, "You made a big mistake, but I'm glad you're going back. Otherwise, we couldn't help you anymore." That's exactly what I heard from her. I went back to the same old place. He said to me, "Do you want me to show you something?" I saw a lot of our acquaintances. There were so many people. They looked really strange. They were half human, half resembling animals. Then they were in a crowd, and they were using their own filth and the filth of others.
Was half of the crowd human and half animal, or was each person like that?
Yeah, each person. They had some human features, but they were animals. They looked more like animals, and they were all in one place. It was a place surrounded by a fence, and inside that fence, they were living off each other's filth. They were using their own filth or dirt, or even parts of their own bodies, even as food. Ugh, it was really scary.
They were eating their own bodies?
Yes, I was really scared. I asked, "What happened here?" He said, "These are the people who don't respect the rights of others. They accuse each other of things. Some of them slander others. Some gossip, and some insult each other." He said these are mostly people who have violated the rights of others. Violating the rights of others means also yourself and your own body. Even if you lie, if you take away someone else's rights, that's violating their rights. If you gossip about someone, that's also violating their rights. Anything where you owe someone a right, that's considered violating the rights of others. He said, "Look, Mehdi, God forgives his own rights, but not the rights of others." A lot of relatives and family members were stuck at the gate. Why are they stuck here? He said, they're stuck because of their own actions until their issue is resolved. They'll stay back here. That's why, when you go back, you have to let them know. Tell them to be careful. Everyone knows where they've made mistakes and where they haven't.
Who were they?
In that crowd, I saw my uncle and some acquaintances. My wife was there. For example, there were even more of our acquaintances and close relatives standing behind that gate, and they weren't allowed to enter until that certain person, the one who needs to forgive them, comes there and their issue gets resolved. They're stuck there too. I ask about vastness of God. In an instant, I traveled through the sky. We went upward. The earth became small. The stars became small. The moon, the sun, the galaxies. We traveled past the galaxies at the speed of light. We passed through the galaxies until we reached the next heavens. In those next heavens, there was no earth. It was a completely different world. The world I saw was immaterial. It was completely lost in infinity. It was beyond infinity. There was a vineyard full of grapes. The grapevines were as tall as our cypress trees. Tall cypress trees. These trees were all stretched out, and each grape was, I think, about the size of an orange. The first fruit I tasted there, and even now, whenever I remember it, my mouth waters. I can still taste it in my mouth. It was that grape. Then I asked, "Is it okay if I have some of this grape?" As soon as I asked, he said, "Yes, you can have one of those grapes, just one from that bunch." It was like it just landed in my hand. I took a bite of it, and it felt like I'd been given the whole world. It was so delicious, sweet, and juicy that, like I said, my mouth just waters thinking about it. The grape juice was running down the side of my face, and when those drops of grape juice sparkled, I felt like I was getting lost inside them. He said, "The sky you live under is one of the smallest, most insignificant, and humble skies of God."
Mehdi, we should get going soon.
Well, can't I stay with you a little longer? He said no. Then I asked, well, where will I see you in my own world? He said, I am always by your side. Then I asked, how? He said, every people who are on earth.
Had a guide.
I am with you in good times. But in hard times, I let you know that what you're doing is wrong, so you won't do it. But when you go ahead and do it, I move away from you. That time when you were striking the match.
I kept telling you.
I was giving you hints while you were talking, so that match would go out. So you wouldn't burn yourself. But you didn't listen to me. You quickly struck that match on yourself and burned yourself. And once again, I came to your rescue. When your mother came and stood over you. He said, I'm by your side even on the ground. You just need to have ears that listen and a mind that understands. He didn't say anything else. Now, Mehdi, it's time for you to go. Go, your kids are waiting for you. As soon as he said that, I suddenly saw a portal of light, round in shape, open up. A circle of light. And I moved toward this circle of light. In that moment, in my mind, I asked, could it be my fate to become a martyr? To be martyred, just so I could go and see that place? He said, why not? You have to want it yourself. Go back and say this. To those people who might want to take such reckless action as you. That there is nothing good here. For anyone, even if they've suffered the worst torment in their life, felt the worst pain, or experienced the worst misfortunes, to harm their own body. I went down a path and came toward this light. I came until I entered my own city. Exactly the sky over my own city. I came close to the hospital. I entered through the ceiling. I came down through the floors. I passed through those windows. I connected to my body so quickly that I felt like I was falling out of bed. I went under the bed. I am so ashamed. Even now, to this very moment, I'm still ashamed because I really ruined my precious body.
Has there been any other blessing you think you've ruined?
My life, which I made even worse with this incident. My kids.
Kids.
I hurt them. I made them sad.
Whether your body will forgive you or not is one of your concerns.
That's right, the biggest concern.
The biggest concern is whether your kids will forgive you or not, right?
Yeah.
What do you think families should do if they really don't want something like this to happen in their family?
A little patience. I used to hold grudges. Those grudges made me bring all this trouble upon myself. If I had just been patient and, like my father said, let things go and not cared so much, I would have let go of those grudges and none of this would have happened.
No matter how we live, flight still exists. Whether we pour fire or water on ourselves, birds will still fly in this world. The sky stays just as blue, and the rivers just as clear.
The nightingales will keep singing.
It's just that, Elnaz, I have to decide whether to look more at the blue sky and the flight, or to focus on the fire and the fuel and all that. It's our own choice, really.
Well, your father asked to God, "Forgive me, I made a mistake." God, forgive me. God helped him and allowed him to wear blue now. Under the blue sky, you get to wear that beautiful yellow, and the sky goes on, the flight goes on. And life goes on, too.